Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2, and today I'm going to be giving you part 6 of What If Naruto Had a New Dream That Will Change Everything. Remember to get this one to 300 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and remember if this is the first time you hear my voice and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last spot we left off, the group came up on the Grass Ninja as they quickly started to engage to find out that it was Orochimaru as Naruto started to clash violently with the Grass Ninja. But no matter what he did, Orochimaru just seemed to be overpowering him. As Naruto hadn't used his chains or his Rasengan drill yet, Orochimaru then called a snake that swallowed Naruto and drive him away. As Naruto ended up making the snake explode with the amount of clones that he summoned in his stomach, as he was now furious as he smelled like snake guts. As he made his way, he didn't know where the hell he was. When he finally found his team, he saw Sakura and Sasuke nearly breaking as someone in his arm. Sakura launched at Naruto with the power infused of the curse mark, as he wasn't thinking rationally, but Naruto quickly put him in his place and knocked him out. As Sakura was happy to see Naruto, seeing that she couldn't walk at the moment, Naruto gave her a piggyback ride, as she said he smelled like guts, which made him even more pissed off. As he headed off, as Team 10 decided to follow them, with the big scary Naruto, who could mess with them. They arrived at the tower as Naruto met up with Hinata. As she came upon the top to see him, she was scared to fight Neji, but Naruto spoke to her and told her to just do her best, as he keep on insisting that she call him Big Brother, as she was happy. So after that, the tournament then finally began as the preliminaries went off. As Sasuke faced off against Yori, the battles came and go. As Hinata faced off against Neji, she tried her best to the very end until she passed out. As Naruto faced off against Rock Lee, Naruto did not use any of his abilities, just pure taijutsu fight, and he was still able to stand up to Lee as Lee went into the 5th gate. As Naruto turned his body rock hard, as Lee started to hit him over and over and over and over, but Naruto did not budge. Lee finally gave out, his body gave out on him, as Naruto collapsed down coughing up blood, but he still stood to his feet, as Lee really enjoyed the battle, as he passed out. As Naruto made his way back up, the rest of the tournament went on. Naruto convinced Kunai to make Kiba give up, because Gaara would kill him. After the tournament, which they were given 1 month to train for the finals, Naruto was called to the council room, as they wanted to know about his abilities, as his self-regeneration so quickly. As Naruto told them, after all, he's a son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. The civilian council members couldn't believe it, as they started to speak to him with respect, calling him Namikaze-sama, but Naruto quickly shut that down, as they wanted him to join the CRA, but Naruto quickly shut that down as well, as he couldn't do anything about it because of the seal that he put on his testicles. As he then walked out without the Hokage permission. After all, he told them that he gave the council room enough rule over him. Why shouldn't he give him the same luxury? As Sarutobi sighed, he would give Kakashi the hint to tell Naruto that he must go to the hot spring. After all, he need to find Jiraiya so he can make him his apprentice. As the time passed that Jiraiya was spent in the hot spring, 3 beautiful ladies inside. As it then, he overheard something that quite surprised him. They were talking about Naruto. It couldn't be his godson. It was then the ladies came out, when Naruto came there and spoke too loudly and started to beat on Jiraiya. Jiraiya then saw the ladies push himself up against Naruto, and even kissed him. The only thing Jiraiya could do at that point was bow, as he bowed to his grandson. "Oh wise one, teach me your ways," he said. As Naruto really wondered, was this guy really the one who trained his father? So yeah guys, so basically that's where I left off. You guys can Switch across to please and check out for yourself. So what do you say begin this new episode? Jiraiya took a long look at his godson now that they had moved to a more private area, and he had to say that he was impressed. Well, he was more impressed on how the blonde seemed to deal with women, but on a purely shinobi standpoint, he wasn't anything to scoff at for someone who had only been a genin for a few months. And he was big too, not quite as big as him, but considering that he hasn't done grow yet, he might become bigger. Sarutobi Sensei had briefed him on Naruto's known abilities, and there was definitely a lot to work with. He could teach him how to refine the use of his hair in combat, and teach him how to spar and improve his taijutsu. His massive chakra reserves would help him summon later on, and also learn senjutsu later on, but that was way in the future. But before they got to any kind of training, there were several other things that need to be taken care of, things that can go really badly. So, I hear that you already found out about your parents, Jiraiya said awkwardly. Despite Sarutobi's best efforts, he's not really good at keeping secret as he thinks he is, said Naruto. As Jiraiya heard the way that he said Sarutobi, with little to no respect, as he realized his old sensei must have screwed the pooch with Naruto. It made him nervous about revealing his status as Naruto Godfather. But he remembered what his sensei said about the issue. No matter how ugly or painful, Naruto always prefers to be told the truth. He will not appreciate things being hidden from him, no matter the reason. There was regret in Sarutobi's tone when he said that, and Jiraiya figured that Naruto never let him close again when he found out the truth. Well then, I guess I should tell you I'm your godfather, Jiraiya said as he was really nervous. As Naruto raised a surprised eyebrow at the man. Interesting. So where have you been the past 17 years? Minding my spy network mostly. Sarutobi told me that you were taken care of. So I didn't really feel the need to come back to Konoha. The old geezer really have a strange definition of well taken care of. But I suppose everything worked out for the good in the end. As Jiraiya felt the feeling like Naruto had to suffer through a lot that Jinchuriki went through, and he now understands why Naruto did not like Sarutobi. He wasn't feeling too fond of him right now either, but Naruto didn't seem to resent him at all. So you're not upset that I wasn't there for you? Not too much, said Naruto. After all, if you had been there, I might have ended up like you, get my ass kicked by women all the time. Also, Naruto knew that he would not react to Xana kindly if some idiot outside would tell him bad stories about the demon fox. Yes, things wouldn't have gone well. As Jiraiya felt a hit at his pride, but he also wanted to know something about that. What's your secret, he asked. Tell you what, I'll set you up with a date with one of the women who taught me all that I know, if you train me as hard as you can for the next month. Oh, what does she look like, Jiraiya asked as he wiggled his finger in a perverted manner. Naruto ignored his behavior and continued. Oh, you already seen her. You remember Keiko, the one with black hair and black eyes? Oh yes, Jiraiya remember alright. And he liked what he saw, but there was a problem. But won't she still be pissed at me for peeping on her? Not if I put in a good word. Aside from that, the woman is probably the biggest pervert I ever met, so she wasn't as pissed as she seemed. Well, you met a bigger pervert than her now because I am a super pervert, said Jiraiya. Well, so is she. You two can work that out on your dates, said Naruto, who's the bigger pervert and all. As he was going to be in for a big surprise if he think that he was more perverted than her. And he was going to tell her to be extra hard on Jiraiya. He might not be so pissed about him not being there, but Naruto loved to, well, kinda play pranks. Well then, no time to lose. Let's get to the training. Before we start, do you know the Rasengan to ask? Of course I know it. I'm the great Jiraiya after all. As he formed the Rasengan in his hand. Good. Now let me explain to you my idea of serious training. The following explanation of creating shadow clones and separating them into smaller groups, while Jiraiya created clones as well, and each clone took a group for themselves. As he would teach them separate things, left Jiraiya thinking that his godson was taking things a bit too far, but the promise of a date to a female, perverted woman kept him not protesting though. Summoning turned out to be easy for Naruto. With his monstrous chakra reserves, he summoned Gamabunta. As the giant toad was pissed off at first and refused to help Naruto in battle until he hung on to him for a full day. As Naruto cheated and just chained himself to the toad boss, making him physically unable to fall off. Gamabunta grumbled but gave up after an hour trying to dislodge him, as he saw that it was pointless. But he mellowed out when Naruto said he would share a drink with him though. Jiraiya was impressed that Naruto was able to create his mother chakra chains, but he left it alone. It wasn't something that he could help with. Training with Rasengan was another interesting experience. This is my Rasen Yari. I sort of heard it on accident when I was trying to create the Rasengan. As he showed Jiraiya the drill around his arm, Jiraiya saw it as he noticed several things that needed comment on. That technique is wasting chakra like crazy, and you cannot adjust it to be non-lethal. All in all, the Rasengan is superior in every way. Well then, teach me the Rasengan, Sensei, said Naruto. Jiraiya felt a swell of pride being called Sensei as he formed the Rasengan in his palm. Normally, I would demonstrate this technique by how to form by using water balloons and a ball, but we can do that tomorrow. For now, I'll say that you just need to swirl your chakra in many directions. As Naruto held his hand out, after a few tries, something slammed into him. As it was an idea. As he then held his hand out once again, as the thing formed, Jiraiya could only stare in shock as his godson figured the first stage, right off the bat. How the hell did you figure the first one out so fast? It took me months to do that. Well, apparently, I've been using something in the first stage to stimulate females' erogenous zones, said Naruto. As Jiraiya could only look at Naruto in shock when he heard that. He then remembered when Minato was learning the technique, and the bastard was giggling about it. He didn't know why back then. Could it be? He knew that he was teaching me something that would please the ladies, and he never told me about it. Jiraiya raged to himself, looking utterly steamed. I had a technique that really impressed my prowess in the bedroom with the ladies, and I didn't even know about it. Now he understands why Kushina kept on smirking to herself whenever the Rasengan was mentioned, and why Minato had that amused look in his eyes when he showed it to him. The rotten little bastard had pranked him, and the prank had kept on being funny because he never found out at all. At least his godson had some decency and told him about it. He was even setting him up on a date with a perverted woman that he could use it on, despite being shown up as a much better ladies man by his godson. He was a real decent guy. As Naruto saw the look on Jiraiya's face as he felt a moment of kinship with his dead father. Apparently, tormenting Jiraiya was a thing that they did. Time skip. Hey there, little sister, how are you doing? I'm okay, big brother, she said. The doctors tell me that I'll be able to get out of here in 2 weeks. As she was happy that he came to visit. Aside from her team and little sister, no one came to visit her. Even then, Hanabi was escorted by a branch house member and not her father. She was glad that she stayed close to her sister despite everything their father has been doing to pit them against each other. Hanabi, remember who had comforted her and taken care of her when she was scared, and it was not her father. She was still close to her father and respected him, but she did not become distasteful of him not to like him. That's good. You'll be able to see me beat the crap out of your cousin, said Naruto with a chuckle. You think you can beat him, she asked. She knew that Naruto was strong, but Neji wasn't called a genius for nothing at all. I could have beaten him a month ago, and I'm learning lots of new things. I didn't show everything I could do with my fight with Lee either. But why would you hold back against Lee? You nearly lost, she said in shock. I wanted to see how good my taijutsu was. I hadn't expected Lee to use something crazy as the 8 gates. Otherwise, I might have reconsidered handicapping myself. Hinata was silent for a moment until she asked another question. You said that you'll help my training, big brother. Are you still gonna do that? She said with a blush. She was pleased with herself that she stopped stuttering around him, now that she knew what a great guy he was. But it was still embarrassing to ask him like that. It had taken her a while to get used to him never wearing a shirt on the inside. But as long as she didn't think about it too much, it would prevent her from blushing. Of course I am. And I got a thing for you, he said. Do you remember my resistance seals? As she nodded, well, how would you like me to put them on you too? They will make any training you do more effective. As a smile spread across her face. It was very rare for a shinobi to share training techniques or methods with anyone but their students, which made that Naruto's putting a lot of trust in her. I would like that, big brother, she said. Oh, alright, but you'll have to be naked for me to paint the seals on your body. Naruto told her as he was a bit embarrassed. No one had ever said Naruto was shy about nudity. But telling a 13-year-old girl to strip so he could write on her with a brush was a different matter entirely. And then, she got so red like she was about to set the bed on fire from the blush, but she fainted. I guess I'll talk to her about this later then. As Naruto left the hospital, after placing a sheet back over her. Time skip. As Naruto was at his apartment, as he was tinkering with the Reaper Death seal, his clones were training with Jiraiya. He wasn't there today though. What are you doing? Xana's voice suddenly asked him behind him as he jumped a bit in surprise. He hadn't expected her just show up right behind him like that. I am messing with the seal, trying to figure out how it works. Oh? Dare I ask why, she asked. She had a momentary thought that he was trying to reseal her before she dismissed that thought quickly. She couldn't help but think that even though she knew he was never going to do something like that, humanity as a whole had left a very bad impression on her. I'm actually hoping I can look at our seal and find out what is wrong with it, and use my seal as a first basis to try and fix his, said Naruto. Gara? I assume that is the name of the human that has Shikaku seal inside of him, Sana questioned. Yeah, but he's acting really strange. I know that you said that he will be unstable, but I think that's because the seal is so weak, he can't even sleep. He also called Shikaku mother for some reason, said Naruto, still messing around with the seal. Zana raised an eyebrow. That was strange, even for Shikaku. It was also strange for anyone with Ichiban inside of them to be as stable as Naruto was making him sound. An interesting project, but why would... Zana didn't stop. Zana, said Naruto. Interesting, she said. Whatever you just did, it blocked the mental link between us. I can no longer hear your thoughts. She wasn't upset about not being able to read his mind at will anymore. After all, she didn't do it much anyway. I wonder what else I can do with this. Naruto muttered to himself as he continued to tinker with the seal, as he hadn't really bothered about the mind thing. After all, he didn't keep any secrets from her anyway. She was interested as well, as she wanted to see what he can do, so she sat down with him, until he got distracted as he turned to her. Hey Zana, would you like to go on a date with me? He asked. He was a bit nervous about asking this question because he got the expression that dating was not something demons did, as he had stopped fiddling with the seal and he was now pecking her tails instead. She didn't manifest her tails too often, but it felt nice to let them out sometimes, and they were quite sensitive to pet them, and she really enjoyed it. A date? That silly ritual where a man attempted to impress a woman enough so she would spread her legs for him, said Zana. She had no idea why he was asking her to go on a date with him. He had become an impressive man in appearance and everything else, and she has come to enjoy his company more than anything else. If he desired her body, there was no willing to spend several hours trying to impress her for her to go to bed with him. You got a real gift for killing all the romance in something, said Naruto with a chuckle. A date is more than just trying to get between a woman's legs. It's also about getting to know each other and doing something together besides having sex, he said to her. She was still looking a bit skeptical. Just humor me then. You might find yourself enjoying it, as she started to consider it, as she didn't know what brought this on, as she stood there for a while. Alright, she said, I'll go on a date with you, only after your children exams of yours is finished. Great, said Naruto, that give me some time to buy something to wear. This was a spur of the moment thing. He wasn't really thinking about what he was going to wear, and in fact he didn't really have anything appropriate for a date. Appropriate to wear, she said. Well, usually people wear something more fancy or formal when going on a date, said Naruto. I see, she said, as she really wasn't seeing the point, but if she was going along with it, she might as well go the full 100. I will wear something appropriate too then. As Naruto smiled, as far as he was concerned, the Chunin exam couldn't be over fast enough. Time skip. 2 weeks until the finals. Naruto was currently in a training field with Rock Lee, who had been released from the medical care, and Guy as well, who he asked to teach him the 8 gates. Lee was currently running a lap with a boulder tied to his back. The two of them didn't know it, but the gates actually flood the body with Yang Chakra. As he asked Terry about it, and he came to that conclusion, it unlocked the body's physical energy and forced Yang Chakra out, and pump it all through the body to increase speed and strength and stamina. But the process was crude and uncontrolled, which what led to the damage to the body. As it made Naruto think if he could find some way to control the Yang Chakra. Naruto, as much as I'm impressed by the flames of your burning youth, I cannot teach you that, said Guy. It is a kenjutsu for a reason. Please, said Naruto, I'll trade you in a really great way to train your youth in return. Guy knew that he shouldn't be tempted, but Naruto always comes with some impressive ways to train. I am not agreeing, but just out of curiosity, what is his training method? I learned how to make seals that increase the gravity in an area. All you have to do is mark out the area where you like to have the gravity increase, and I'll make the proper seals. Then you'll be able to train so hard that your youth will overflow and explode like a geyser. I'll even teach you how to adjust the seal and supply it with enough chocolate to keep it active. As Naruto knew he had to keep up this attitude to make Guy train him, as he really wanted to learn about the 8 gates. As Guy felt his resolve getting weaker, to be able to train in a high gravity environment would be a dream come true. I'm not even intending to use gates in combat, I'm more interested in them in my Funjutsu research. Guy, resolves crumble. If Naruto wasn't going to use them in combat, then surely he could teach them to him, right? Alright Naruto, I'll teach you how to open the gates, but you must promise never use them unless something precious to you is in danger. Guy said firmly it was something that he would demand of anyone who wanted to learn such a dangerous technique. I promise, said Naruto. After all, his marriage to Susanna was in danger if he couldn't get strong enough, so he has to. Time skip. 1 week until the finals. Kurenai couldn't sleep. It was not that the bed wasn't comfortable, or that she was hungry or anything. It was a screaming coming from Uncle's room. The two of them had lived together for some years now, and had never seen a need for one of them to move out. Over the years, they have brought people over before. Uncle was more prone to bringing people over, both man and woman, seeing that she was bisexual. But not many, as you thought, that she would bring because of the way she dressed. But usually she never screamed so loud, to literally wake the dead. The previous day, however, she had brought Naruto Uzumaki, as the both of them had talked, and they went to her bedroom. At the time, Kurenai was a bit upset that Uncle was going to sleep with a man that she had gotten interested in. It was like she was stealing away from her, considering that nothing happened between them. But after hearing Uncle scream for several hours now, she was getting cranky. And Uncle was having such a great time. She might want a serious relationship, but she had needs too. Listening to her friend have the greatest sex of her life. It made her regret not sleeping with him when she had the chance. Time skip. Kurenai walked towards the bathroom with bleary eyes as she was dressed in an oversized shirt and panties. She had only gotten a couple hours of sleep and couldn't keep her eyes open. The shower was running, but she wasn't paying attention to it. Uncle and Kurenai wasn't, shy about anything, and it was normal for one of them to walk in the bathroom while the other was bathing. But it was the uncle that was in there as the shower door opened, as Naruto stepped out, as he was wearing nothing at all. She couldn't stop her eyes from looking down. No wonder why Uncle was screaming so loud. As soon as the thought passed her head, she rushed out of the bathroom, with her face burning bright red. As she was leaning to the door against the bathroom outside, she heard Naruto chuckling inside. This was not standard procedure at all. Every time Uncle brought someone over, they were already gone in the morning. She had no idea what this meant, but she was going to find out as soon as her face calmed down, as it was so red. Time skip. The three of them were sitting around the table, having just finished breakfast. As Kurenai was still wearing an oversized shirt, but she put on a pair of casual sweatpants. As Naruto was dressed in his underwear, and Uncle was wearing a bathrobe that was open and barely covering anything. So, Kurenai said awkwardly, unsure how to start the conversation with two mostly naked people. "You're wondering what Blondie is still doing here, right?" said Uncle. "Yeah, kind of. Well, he caught sight of my seal during my first and second time of getting me there, and he asked if he could study it. And he seemed rather confident that you'd be able to do something about it. Well, from what I've seen of Sasuke's seal, Orochimaru is pretty sloppy with his Funjutsu. I'm actually surprised people actually survive having a seal based on them. It's a 1 in 10 chance of survival," said Uncle. Never mind then, to say that's a wet job. Well, it's because of the bad seal work. I think I might be able to modify it and make it harmless at least. Maybe even outright remove it. Well, if you can manage to get this disgusting thing off me, I will be really grateful, Uncle said. "Can you two please not start anything in front of me," said Kurenai. Looks like Night-chan's a bit stressed. Maybe she like a home video of how we relax Naruto. That's a cute nickname, Uncle, but if we're making suggestions, you know that nothing beat a live performance in Naruto. Isn't that right, Night-chan? As Kurenai could do nothing but blush, unable to say anything. Just one of them were bad enough, but when they were together, it was worse. Night-chan is looking rather tense. She probably hasn't been sleeping well, said Naruto. Of course I haven't sleeping well, with you two making so much noise, she thought to herself. Yeah, you're right, but what can we do about it, Uncle asked, keeping up the game. Well, I've been told I give a killer massage, said Naruto, as he looked at Kurenai. Kurenai bit her lip. The both of them got rather close and was pressed up against her. She was not, she wouldn't mind a massage, especially if Naruto was the one giving it. Making a decision as she hoped she was going to regret this later as she turned towards him. Alright, I'll take you up on that massage, she said. You won't be disappointed, he said to her. A few minutes later, as Kurenai was laying face down, as she still had on her shirt and pants, as Naruto was behind her, still wearing his boxers. She tried really hard not to think that he was still wearing a boxers alone, as Uncle was in the living room giving them some privacy. When she felt his chakra penetrating her skin, she had to be careful as she didn't let out any noise, anything that would sound too, unpleasant. Some minutes later he asked something, but she didn't really hear him because of the pleasure. What was that? I was asking if this shirt has any emotional value to you, he asked. No, it's just some random shirt I wear to bed, she said. She was enjoying herself too much to bother to think why he was asking that. But he then grabbed it and ripped it apart, leaving her bare back wide open. What the hell are you doing, she said. Don't worry, I just need to get the shirt out of the way. I'll get you a new one if you want it. He resumed massaging her again, and she had to admit it was much better. And the fact that he was pressing against her because he was literally on top of her, it made her feel rather hot. I'm going to start on your legs. Do you want me to take your pants off? He asked. She buried her face in her pillow as she nodded, too embarrassed to look at him or even say the words. As he slipped them off, as she lifted her hips to help him do it. As she was wearing a red, lacy underwear. As this time she couldn't help it as she had to make noise. As she was going literally crazy as his hands were moving up and down. As she couldn't take it anymore. Take me, she said, her eyes closed, as she was unable to stand any longer. Even if he did not want a serious relationship, she couldn't stand this anymore. At least they could do this. As he leaned over, what did you say? I didn't quite hear, he said. Take me, she said a bit louder. You know that I can't give you a relationship, he said. Karina was a sexy woman and he really wanted to sleep with her, but he didn't want her to regret anything later. And she was a good person and they even became friends in 2 months they worked together. And he didn't want anything awkward between them. Karina cursed in the pillow. Why did he have to be so damn considerate? As he backed up a bit and she started to turn. As she would worry about the consequences later. As she pulled him down and kissed him. Not wasting any more time. Take me, she said. Just outside the door to Karina's room, Uncle was eavesdropping. And she heard everything. As she was making plans to crash that party. Maybe after her own too. Because what she found out last night, as long as Naruto had chakra, he could keep going. And he made a point of himself to not disappoint any of them. As she was going to, yes, go into that party. After all, she was bisexual and Karina was a beautiful woman. The chance to get both her and Naruto at the same time was just too tempting. She had been trying to hopefully convert Karina into an equal lover ever since that day when they drunkenly made out. And this was a perfect opportunity. Karina might be pissed at her for it as well. Well, probably. Maybe being with Naruto for at least 2 rounds will keep her calm and mellowed out. Yes, a girl could only hope. Time skip. The place was booming with the excitement, as many has been awaiting the finals of June exams, especially since there were so many promising Genins this time. Most has come to see the last Uchiha and Hyuga Neji, who were extremely talented. Although word has been going around that Naruto Uzumaki was someone to watch out for. There was no grand announcement, but rumors has been going around that he was the son of the 4th Hokage. Most people disregard this as preposterous, but some of them took a close look at him, the hair and the eyes. Not to mention most of them had noticed back then, who were old enough, that Minato Namikaze was always in the company of Kushina Uzumaki, and his name was Naruto Uzumaki. As Naruto graduation class with Team Guy that was mostly made up of clan heirs, they were aware of it as well. They were all stunned at learning that, and they wanted to talk to Naruto about it, but he has been like a ghost for the past month. Those Konoha Genins who did not make the finals were sitting together. Even Jiraiya was there as he wanted to see what people thought of his godson, and he wanted to see him fight. Well, Kakashi was missing. No one was surprised by that, considering his reputation for being late. The Genins were surprised to find the second phase proctor, Uncle, sitting next to Kurenai. But they figured out that they were friends after seeing 2 of them talk together in the preliminaries. Unknown to all of these people, Zana was sitting a couple rows behind them. Curiosity had got the better of her, as she wanted to see Naruto beat the snot out of them. Sasuke and those who was missing, but no one was making a fuss out of it. Give them time to show up when their match started. But Sasuke need to come up soon because he was second match after all. This should be good, said Kiba with a smile, as he waited for the first match to start. He wasn't pleased the way Neji hurt Hinata, and he hoped that Naruto would kick his ass. After seeing the blonde beat Kurenai Sensei in a spar, he had no doubt that he would beat Neji as well. He still felt shameful about forfeiting. But even his mother consoled him that he did the right thing. Her explanation on what the Ichiban Jinjutsu was had made him feel glad that he forfeited. He didn't know why she was uncomfortable though talking about it. Demon being sealed to someone was, crazy, but why she was so uncomfortable, he didn't know. Hell yeah, I can't wait to see Blondie flatten that Hyuga prick. Not to mention I bet huge on him, said Uncle. You guys really think that he can win, Tenten said. I mean, I know he's pretty strong, but Neji's a genius, she said with some doubt in her tone. Uncle simply laughed. Girl, that teammate of yours has no idea what he's in for. Naruto's gonna eat him alive. Even Nai-chan felt confident enough to bet on him. He's a monster to fight against. She should know since she tried to spar against him. The only reason why she won is because she got tricked with her snake summons. But the way he was improving, she doubted that she'd win again. Kurenai was having different thoughts when Uncle mentioned Naruto being a monster, as her face was getting flushed and red, remembering that night. As she quickly shook her head, this was not the time to think about that. as she could already feel herself getting hot. I second that. The Hyuga has no chance, said Jiraiya, as Naruto has made incredible progress in 1 month, and Jiraiya feel like he was doing other training as well, as his back was still stained from his date with Keiko though. Yes, the girl really was she was a kind of a masochist, but the other way around, as that boy had set him up just like his father, more even. How can you be so sure, Jiraiya-sama? Asked Asuma. Because I've been training him for the past month. As he got surprised looks. No one knew that Naruto was training with him for the past month. That kid worked harder than a dozen shinobis put together. If he keep going at this rate, he will end up stronger than me in a few years. Don't you think that's a bit of a stretch, said Asuma. I didn't expect him to be much as well when I first saw him. But once you see him train, you think that he might be trying to commit suicide. He wouldn't tell me why he worked so hard, but it's got to be something very important to him. Naruto has always been very youthful in his training. It would not surprise me if he indeed surpassed Jiraiya-sama eventually, said Guy. As Lee nodded in agreement right after. What do you think, Hinata? You know them both, so you should have a good idea who's gonna win, asked Ino. I think Naruto is gonna win, she said. I am with Hinata on this. You guys haven't seen everything that Naruto can do, said Sakura, as she thought of his chakra change that he hadn't even shown yet. Tenten still have some doubts though. So far, Neji has beaten everyone so far. In any case, it's starting, so you're gonna see for yourself, said Jiraiya. Time skip. With Naruto Uzumaki and Neji Hyuga, please make your way to the arena, said Genma, as he had replaced Hayate, who was found killed in the previous month. The two made their way to the arena, both of them certainly in their victory. As soon as Naruto appeared there was a large commotion from a part of the stands, as there was a large group of women from age of 20 to 40 holding banners. Go Naruto, we believe in you. Naruto for Hokage. Uzumaki-sama, sex god. That one was Naruto's personal favorite. As Naruto spread his arms towards them, ladies, he said, contain your orgasms. Sarutobi slapped his face as Naruto's words were met with shouts even louder from the women. If he keeps this up, the village is going to get a strange reputation. Next to him, Orochimaru disguised as the 4th Kazekage smirked to himself in a rare amusement. His old sensei has spent so long in the village, he forgot that Konoha already has a strange reputation. All those women, Jiraiya said. What does he have that I don't? Unlike you, he knows how to treat a woman, Uncle said, a smirk. You slept with him too, said Asuma, as he hadn't put any stocks in the belief that Naruto has really been doing these things, but this was utter proof. Oh yeah, and I don't regret a second of it, said Uncle, as her hand slowly gripped Kurenai's thigh. Well, at least I know Kurenai sensei hasn't slept with him, Kiba grumbled, his jealousy being shown brightly that Naruto's always doing these things. Kurenai looked up with a blush, not saying anything. After several seconds of uncomfortable silence, he felt the need to ask, You didn't you, sensei? She refused to say anything as her blush got deepened. Even you, Jiraiya gasped. Over the years, Kurenai had developed a reputation as far as man was concerned, and she hated perverts. Pride in his godson was mixing with some jealousy as well. Asuma sighed with disappointment, beaten to the punch by a teenager for over 10 years of him trying. As Sakura simply sighed, Tenten and Ino gaped. Even Choji stopped eating, as Hinata couldn't believe it as she blushed of her sensei doing that to their big brother. Kurenai shrugged, like what Uncle said. He knows how to treat a woman. Guy sensei, I'm confused. Are these actions of Naruto youthful or unyouthful? Lee asked him. That is something that you'll only understand when you're older, Lee. Guy said in a rather sage tone, hiding the fact that he was confused as a student. This was a conundrum that needed more youthful training to solve. Meanwhile, as the proctor announced the beginning of the fight, Neji opened his mouth and went into his usual rant. You should give up, Uzumaki. You're fated to lose the moment you drew me as your opponent. If I believed in fate, I wouldn't have made it this far already. You haven't truly made it anywhere. You're deluding yourself to think that you achieve anything at all. You are fated to lose here, and no matter what you do or how hard you try, you will progress no further. Failures remain failures despite your heritage. Your womanizing behavior only makes you seem more pathetic in his head, with a smirk. Naruto narrowed his eyes, a little condescending prick, as he wished he could just go there and break his face. But he wouldn't be controlled by his anger and rise to the obvious bait. Being so long-waited will make the ladies hate your guts. As he removed something from under his coat, as everyone was a bit confused when he put on the breathing mask for underwater, as he unsealed another storage scroll and released it. Water exploded out of the scroll in large quantities. Was that supposed to achieve something? Neji asked mockingly, believing that Naruto had screwed up whatever he tried. Not yet, Naruto said, his voice distorted by the breather. The water then started to act strange as it was pulled up to his body, as it stick to him. As it was pulled to him by the pull of his chakra like a suit. Water release. Armor of water. I hate it when he does that, said Jiraiya. Why? Asked Kunai. Because even though he's a lot more muscle, with that long blonde hair of his, he looked like Hanzo and Salamander when he put that thing on. He even got a similar breather because he knew it freaked me out. The kids were confused by that, but the Jonins knew. After all, Hanzo had a well-deserved scary reputation. After all, he defeated him and gave him that name. What's the point of the water armor? Can't Nid just attack right through it? Asked Ino. It might not look like much, but take note of how much water he compressed into that armor. Water, wind, and fire techniques have serious trouble getting through it. But Naruto is actually thinking the opinion that it will even block Jayugen strikes. I told him not to try for the first time in combat, until he tested out fully, but he decided to ignore me, said Jiraiya. Back to the fight. As Naruto dashed towards Neji, Neji activated his Byakugan and went into a gentle fist stance. As he blocked Naruto's strike and struck at Naruto's chest, ready to end the fight quickly. Neji was surprised Naruto shrugged the attack off, as he kept on striking but nothing happened. As Naruto smashed his fist into Neji's chest, and then uppercut him and kicked him away. As Neji flipped and landed. Why is that I cannot close your point, said Neji, as he was under the belief that the gentle fists were unblockable. My water armor is charged with my chakra and the water itself is always moving. Your puny chakra pokes are dispersed long before they reach my points. Naruto said that smug look as he was quite proud of his creation that he wanted to test. If chakra-based attacks are no use, then I'll use something else, Neji said, as he threw kunais. The kunai pierced the water, but it was so dense that they fell to the ground, not even piercing through. Your training did give you enough muscle to pierce through my armor, so unless you have something else up your sleeve, I'm just gonna beat you down until you're helpless to do anything against me, said Naruto. No, that's impressive. Never thought I'll see this someone manage to block the gentle fist style, said Asuma. It is a most useful technique to defeat the Jayugen style, but I don't think Neji is defeated yet, said Guy, as the observant Hyugas were shocked to see someone block their fighting style. As Neji was thrown back across the ring as he flipped and landed once again. He knew that the Uzumaki would just continue to beat on him unless he finds some way to break that armor. He didn't want to release his ability in the first match, but it was the only thing he could think of to break that armor of his, so he has to. As he allowed Naruto to get close to him, the moment Naruto was close enough. Rotation! As he spin. As the rotation shave away the water and send Naruto sailing back. Do you see the futility of your efforts now? Neji said in a taunting tone. Whoa, so you find a way to break my water armor. Big deal, I got plenty of things I can use to beat you. As Naruto removed his rebreather. As he wasn't put off that the water armor was broken. After all, it was just a first test and it was successful. He just wanted to see if he could block the chakra pokes off the stance. Neji dashed forward to end the fight, but chains exploded from Naruto as he had to jump back from them scoring him. What is this? Neji said in shock, as he was nearly impaled due to his surprise. Uzumaki chakra chains, great for controlling the battlefield, capturing an enemy, and also kinky sex games. Lee turned. Why is Kunai-san and Uncle-san blushing? He said, as every attention turned to the two women, as they were indeed blushing when they looked at chakra chains that Naruto created, remembering what happened that night. But the silence was broken and someone fell to their knees. How? How did it come to this? How did the gallant Jiraiya become a joke while my student indulged in all kind of perversity, like it was a natural thing in the world? Jiraiya says he punched Grown a few times. As Zana was listening and smirking with herself, she, and perhaps that ramen waitress that Naruto was fond of, was the only one that knew the truth. As he was better off this way, the self-confidence that he had, and the fact that he didn't care what anyone thought of him, except for her and Ayam, the thought pleased her a great deal. She had nothing against the ramen waitress because Naruto saw her as a big sister. That girl might have been the only one to sway Naruto away from her, if their relationship wasn't family type. As that thought in her head has been popping up recently, ever since he left Sandaime for her, she became rather attached to him and she could not deny it. As demons were more in tune with darker emotion, so it spoke much for Naruto that he brought up this feeling within her, a lot. The problem was she did not know what to do about it. Well, she could kill him before it got any worse. That would make it better before the long run. Allowing her attachment to get even worse and deep and connected with him, then to lose him because of old age. That would hurt more than anything else. Even descending into madness of her Biju siblings hadn't troubled her much. But to lose the thought of losing him now, yes, it was troubling her. Not very long ago, she thought that it would change him if he became immortal, and she didn't want it to happen. But now she was thinking if she could find a way to do that. But that would be selfish of her. Death was something humans were afraid of, but it was a gift, a rest at the end of your long road. And she wanted to take that away from him now, deny him of that rest, so she could be with him for eternity. But she wasn't really concerned about her selfishness. But she felt as powerless as any of these humans. She could obliterate this village with ease, but she could not turn him immortal. The natural order was everyone was going to die. Him, humans. Naruto Uzumaki was going to die one way or another. For the first time in her existence, she hated the natural order and wished that she could change it. Meanwhile, the chains were chakra construct, so they lost their momentum when struck by Dragon strikes. As Neji could not get close enough, but Naruto could not get him with his chains. Well, this isn't going anywhere. I might as well end this, said Naruto, finally accepting her fate and forfeiting, asked Neji, in a mocking tone. Nah, I'm just tired of playing with you. At least you bitch about fate because of your daddy death. As he retrieved a piece of paper from his coat. You don't know anything. My father was fated to die because of the circumstance of his birth, just as I am fated to seal forever and curse, just like you're fated to lose here. Neji raised and tore his forehead protector off, showing the seal. I think that you're about to eat those words, as Naruto placed a strip on the ground. Black lines of flowing juice and marking spread out everywhere. As Naruto outstretched his hand with his thumb pointing sideways before speaking, Graviton, as he turned his thumb downwards. Neji gasped as his body got heavy as it forced him down to his knees. The trees in the arena broke as they were pulled down harshly. The grass were flattened against the earth and the rocks sank a few deeper inches into the ground. What is this? Neji groaned out with clenched teeth, forced himself back up. But he wasn't having any success. Gravity seal, I'm increasing the gravity in the arena, making everything 10 times heavier. I'm the only one that is unaffected because I have counter seal placed on me. I bet it must really piss you off that you're being forced to bow because of another seal. Neji cursed at the words. He was always controlled by seals and he hated it. You have a choice now, Neji. I can either increase the gravity seal and squash you like a prick, or you can call me Uzumaki-sama, apologize for your previous words, and ask me to spare you. That is your fate now. In the stance. Big brother, that's so cruel, said Hinata, as she knew how Neji would hate to be placed in that position. Everyone was looking stunned how Neji has dropped to his knees. Naruto has taken control of the battle that easily. He could have just done that from the beginning. But in the enclosed space of the arena, no one could leave it and didn't want to forfeit. So right here was a perfect opportunity to just use it. Back in the arena, Neji looked up. It was just like the cursed seal of Hyuga. He could submit or die. All his life he had to keep up a facade to prevent having the cursed seal used on him. And now this blonde had forced him into this position as well. His cousin was the only one he was able to lash out against, as she was too weak to retaliate. He turned his head to look at her. She was worried. And it was because of him. She was worried for him. He always hated when she looked at him like that, as if he needed that from her, from a weakling like her. As she was always trying to help him and the others around, even though much he tried to attack her even after he tried to kill her. And after hanging out with Naruto, she got even more consistent about that. Even after her father disapproved it, she was still on about that. The change to Hyuga. I looked towards Uncle Hayashi, revealed nothing but the blank face. His younger cousin also looked worried a bit. Being forced into this position, he was tired of it. He didn't care. Even if he killed him, he wasn't going to bow for anyone anymore. As Neji got up with force, as his teeth were grinding, his legs were shaking. I'm not gonna bow to you, he said. Are you sure about that, said Naruto. Neji forced all the chakra he could into his legs so they would support him, as he was expecting the gravity to get harder on him. But Naruto raised his hand, and he was sent sailing up into the air because of the chakra that he was pumping up in his legs. As the gravity had lifted, he was then grabbed by chains as he was pulled straight to eye level with Naruto. For someone who claims that everything is decided by fate, you've been rather defiant right now. Tell me, Neji, was it worth defying fate and stuff giving in? Naruto said, looking at the cage bird seal as he did so. No doubt it was a nasty piece of work. Cursed seals were always one. He will have a shadow to look over it later. You will never know what come in handy one day. Neji slammed his forehead into Naruto's nose as he broke Naruto's nose. Naruto's head leaned back, but the chains did not release Neji, as Naruto was still standing there. Now it was worth it, Neji said. As Naruto brought back his head, he wiped away the blood as his nose started to heal. Well, I'm glad you think so. But, do you really think you can win? Proctor, I cannot continue, said Neji. Neji Hyuga's forfeited the match. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. as Neji knew that he was unable to even move at the moment. If it wasn't for these chains, he would be on the ground. As Neji fell down, as Naruto released him as a crowd roar. As something landed on his head. As he removed it, it was a thong. As he threw it aside, as he turned towards Naruto was covered in underwear and bras. You see Neji Naruto's head spreading his arms. Defying fate does pay off. Neji didn't know why, but the ridiculous of the situation catch up to him, as he chuckled a bit. Despite his loss, he felt like he won something more important in the match. He defied fate and it wasn't that terrible. It was actually pretty good. Neji lost and he's laughing? He never laughs, said Tenten, as she couldn't believe it herself. If she wasn't here to see, she would tell the person that they were lying if they told her that, as she couldn't believe how easy Naruto had shut down Neji. She thought he was like Lee, another dead last with no talent, who decided to focus on taijutsu. It was clear now that his focus was not on taijutsu at all. He was just strong in many areas. He didn't have breathe a sigh of relief that everything turned out right. Though she was wondering, she saw her father going after the medics that took Neji away to be checked. She hoped her cousin would get in trouble for using the main house technique. Moments later, with Gaara of the sand and Sasuke Uchiha make their way towards the battlefield. Gaara appeared in the sand flicker really quickly. The only person he had killed since coming to the forest of death was that idiot Stone Jane that attacked him. And he was itching to kill someone else now. Uzumaki words has gone through his head in the tower over and over, taunting him with the possibility of sleeping. It was something he wanted for a long time to be able to rest, but he also didn't want to lose mother's voice in his head. She was the only one that would speak to him and didn't want to be alone. A minute passed and Sasuke did not show up, as the crowd started to rumble. Uchiha Sasuke, make your way to the arena immediately, or be disqualified, said Genma. Up in the box, Hokage Dano, I do not believe it will be wise to disqualify the last Uchiha. Many has came here to see him fight and would be quite disappointed if he did not, the disguised Orochimaru said. Sir Tobi sighed as he thought about his options. Sasuke should really be disqualified, that was the options, always taken if you were late in the way. What the Kazekage said was also true however. He rules over for everyone. Those words went through his head, as they were the words that Naruto said to him. As he wondered, did he really do that? Just gave in to everyone who made requests or demands to him, because he didn't want to do it. He just didn't want to deal with it. Thinking about several past council meetings made him think that it was true, and he always gave in. What you say is true, Kazekage Dano, but I cannot show favoritism, no matter who it is. If Sasuke Uchiha cannot show up for his own match and is unfit to be chosen in any way, Sir Tobi said, feeling that it was the right choice, despite the loss of business that Konoha will suffer due to Sasuke not showing up. That was Uchiha's fault, most likely Kakashi's, now that he thought about it. Orochimaru didn't say anything, though he was quite upset, as he wanted to see how his future vessel would do against Gaara. After disapproving runs from the crowds, as they were very angry that Sasuke was going to be fighting. Gaara, a furious Gaara made his way back to the box. Proctor, I forfeit. Conqueror forfeit his next match, causing more angry yelling from the crowd as he was supposed to be fighting Shino, but he just went and forfeit. They had come to see the Shinobi fight, but they got fired up by the first match, and now, one had been disqualified for not being here, and the other one just forfeit. Very well then, Naru Shikamaru and Temari of the Sand make their way to the arena. Temari glided down on her fan. Shikamaru was thinking about forfeiting, as everyone seemed to be doing it, when he felt something push him, as he turned to see Naruto behind him with a smile. Damn troublesome blonde, he said. What was that, you lazy bastard, Temari said, thinking that he was talking to her. Shikamaru sighed as he knew word of this fight would reach his mother, and if he didn't give a good showing, she was going to be rather troublesome. Nara-san, please get up on the floor and get ready, said Genma, as Shikamaru looked like he wanted to sleep. Alright, troublesome Proctor, as he got her from the ground. Despite the booing from the crowd at the lazy and slow match, they were drawn in how clever Shikamaru was being and the strategies that he was using. It dragged on for 2 hours as Shikamaru refused to leave the trees where he had taken shelter from wind attacks. Eventually, he maneuvered her right into a trap with his shadow. It would have been easy for him to disable her and claim victory. Proctor, I forfeit. Huh? What? But you won, Temari said, as she was confused. Because I got almost no chakra left, and I can't hold this technique for any longer, he said. The moment he said that, as his technique gave in. Truth be told, he slapped about half his chakra left, but he just didn't want to get promoted. That would be too rather troublesome. Surely the fact that he gave up and his lazy attitude would convince them that he was too lazy to be tuning, right? Unknown to Shikamaru, his explanation of giving up because he didn't have enough chakra. That had impressed a lot of people. And worse, his clever strategies. So despite his lazy attitude, he deserved the promotion, as he was going to be cursing about that later on. Time skip, as Naruto was facing off against Gaara, the both of them looking at each other. Are both contestants ready? Asked Genma. As the both of them nodded, then Before he could start the match, he was interrupted, as there was a swirl of wind as Gaara watched as his previous opponent that he should fight, and his sensei arrived. Sorry, are we late? Kakashi asked the eye smile. Yes, you are. In fact, you were so late the Uchihas was disqualified over 2 hours ago, said Genma. What? Sasuke said angrily. His Sharingan activated subconsciously. Oops, Kakashi said a nervous laugh. Internally, he was sighing relief. He had been hoping to get Sasuke disqualified, because he knew he didn't stand a chance against Gaara, at least not yet. He had got the information that Konoha had on the Ichiban Jinchuriki. Any sort of training wouldn't get him up to Gaara level in a single month. Telling Sasuke that would just make him want to fight even more. Sasuke was very powerful for a genin, but fighting someone like Gaara, he was not ready for that. And not to mention, Kakashi didn't think that Sasuke was truly material when it comes to his mentality. Don't worry, Sasuke. Women don't like guys that come early, Naruto commented. Sasuke looked like he was about to explode, but he wasn't sure who to be angry at. His sensei that made him come so late, or his teammate who made a joke out of it. Kakashi lead Sasuke away, telling that rank didn't matter much in the way, and you have another chance in 6 months. Begin Genma call once two of them are alone again. Come Uzumaki, show me the power of the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Let us see which one of us has a stronger existence. Gaara beckoned as he eager for the battle to finally begin. I'm not gonna be using Kyuubi power to fight you, Gaara. I'll be using my own strength, said Naruto. As Naruto wasn't bothered that Gaara had just released his status to everyone. If someone didn't like it, they could kiss his ass. Kyuubi Jinchuriki, Kiba whispered to himself. Note his mother explained what Ichiban Jinchuriki was. It didn't take a genius for him to figure out who the Kyuubi Jinchuriki was. What's a Jinchuriki, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked, confused and curious. My mother told me it was a person with a demon seal inside of them, said Kiba. As Jonin and Jiraiya had a grimace look on their face. It seems that the thing was blown. But Gaara called Naruto the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Didn't the fourth Hokage kill it? Asked Ino. No, the Kyuubi is immortal and cannot be killed by any human. So the fourth sealed it into Naruto his own son to protect the village. You might have noticed how some of the villagers seem to hate Naruto. That is because they stupidly transfer the hate and fear of the Kyuubi onto Naruto. He's been protecting the village ever since he was born from the Kyuubi, and many seem to hate him for that, although he's done nothing at all. After all, he should have graduated from the academy years ago, but the academy instructors always sabotage him. I hope all of you have enough brains to distinguish Naruto from the Kyuubi, Jiraiya said. Sasuke was stunned to find out that Naruto held the demon inside of him, and he was a son of the fourth on top of it. He hadn't been around to hear that piece of information. And the others, they saw Naruto. Naruto was a lot of things, a pervert, a womanizer, but not a demon at all. They had never realized how much harder than them Naruto had it. Naruto is more even youthful than I thought, to be protecting the village. By just existing, he's blazing with youth, said Lee. As the unsealed Kyuubi behind him smirked at the irony of it. But how did Gaara know that Naruto is a Kyuubi Jinchuriki? Asked Tenten. I heard Naruto telling Kurenai Sensei that Gaara is a Ichiban Jinchuriki and that he's unstable. Maybe they can't sense each other, said Kiba. What do you mean unstable? Sakura asked. The Ichiban Jinchuriki is insane and been known to drive their hosts insane as well. It almost didn't help that they've always been hated by the villagers around them, and that drive them angry, and almost drive them homicidal, said Jiraiya. Back in the arena, Gaara saw Naruto rushing right towards him. As his shine shield came up, he was shocked though when Naruto had penetrated right through it. As Gaara felt 3 fists smash into his jaw, the fourth one sent him sailing away. Gaara got to his feet with a crazy look on his face, sand cracking off his face. Your blood will please Mother Uzumaki. You will prove my existence, Gaara said as he sent sand towards Naruto. I'm getting the kind of feeling that your mother is a woman I wouldn't be rather interested in, said Naruto. As Naruto dodged the sand, it was moving fast, but not fast enough. He wasn't having any trouble dodging it, but he couldn't attack while dodging it. As he sent his chakra chains towards Gaara, while still evading the sand. As another sand defense rose up to protect him. So the sand attack is automatic, huh? There was less time come to attack him though, so he sent multiple chains at all different directions. There wasn't enough sand to form a full shield, as Gaara had to dive, but he got a cut on his arm though. Your blood will be delicious. It will make me feel more alive, Gaara said, as he started to lose himself more and more. As the sand chasing Naruto came back and formed a spear of sand, as the eye formed above it. I have no idea if he can see through that creepy eyeball, so let's just assume that he can. As Naruto sent more chains, as his chains were not penetrating it, it was too dense and thick. As he was going to need something with more power, he wasn't too keen on letting Gaara finish whatever he was doing in there. As Naruto moved forward as he held out his hand as a Rasengan form, he noticed Sand Eye watching him. He had to jump back just in time, but he got a wound in his stomach as Sand spears came out of it. As Naruto could feel the power of Shikaku, as a crazy killing intent, as he figured that he was close to the surface. Figured that I couldn't watch all of them, Naruto sent out 4 clones. 3 of them got skewered, but the last one slammed in with the Rasengan, ripping into Gaara's side. As Gaara screamed out in pain, "Gaara!" Timar yelled. At that very moment, explosions happened everywhere, as feathers started to fall, putting the people to sleep. As Naruto saw Sand and Son Shinobis attacking Konoha Shinobis, as it only took him a moment to realize that he must have brought Gaara here for him to transform right in the middle of the village. No, he couldn't allow that, as the thing started cracking in front of him. As Naruto heard the explosion, he had to do this fast. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want the next part, if you still know what to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notifications they posted. Remember to share to all of your friends and social media platform. And also guys, if this is the first time you hear my voice and you enjoyed videos on both anime king and anime king 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the anime king family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And yeah, I'm off now. See you guys soon. Peace. Stay tuned for the what ifs guys, and enjoy.